Sojola here. Now, I want to speak about the impacts of the war on the global supply chain, right? When the war started, the war had a vast impact on the global supply chain. Now, particularly in this video, I want to look at the agricultural supply chain, right? Now, these two countries, Russia and Ukraine, together supply a lot of food that the globe needs, right? They are known as the breadbasket of Europe and the world, right? Now, I want us to first look at the first commodity that I want us to look at, that agricultural commodity is sunflower, right? Now, between these two countries, above 80% of the sunflower is supplied by these two countries to the global supply chain. So they produce this sunflower on their territory, and they process it on their territory and release it as a cooking oil, right? That's why one of the fastest impact when the war started was an increase of cooking oil, because it's supplied on from that region. Now, when I particularly look at this from South Africa, is that we've got two provinces particularly that can produce sunflower, right, and cooking oil. So I'm not really worried about the cooking oil, even though the prices affect us. But if the war gets worse, we can start farms and move into an agricultural sense. You know, if we really dire, right? Those are the two provinces. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is soya beans, right? These two countries together supply about 50% of the soya beans, right, to the global supply chain, right? Soya beans, they supplied in various form, processed solids, and it can also be processed as a cooking oil, right? When it comes to soya beans, South Africa currently produces about 4,500 tons of soya beans, right? But South Africa has the potential to produce about 3 million tons annually of soya bean. So when it comes to the global supply, and let's say an even worse situation, maybe the war carries on for about another 4 years, I'm really happy that South Africa has the ability to supply this. Now, I want us to look at now maize, right? These two countries, Russia and Ukraine, supply about, is it over 40% of maize, right? Maize, we know, it's a staple food for many African countries, right? We eat barb, you know, and things like that, right? So when it comes to maize in South Africa, we currently produce maize. We produce quite a lot of maize, I think around the millions of tons, maybe 3 or 4. And yeah, South Africa has the ability to produce maize in most of its provinces. Eastern Cape, but Eastern Cape is not producing much maize. It's particularly, I'd say, Free State, Limpopo, KZN, Mpumalanga. So when it comes to maize, we also have a solution there. So I don't really, consider it as a problem, even though the prices affect us. When push comes to shove, we can supply our own. And particularly now, I want to speak about wheat, right? Russia and Ukraine supply about 30%, above 30% of the wheat. And wheat basically makes bread, right? Now, there's a very high percentage of countries in Africa that get their supply or from these two countries, especially Russia and I want to look at particularly the North African countries that get their supply from Russia. They are suffering now. Egypt is rationing their food. Mali and countries in the Sahel region are really depending on this wheat because their wheat is a stable food to them. So particularly with this wheat, it can be produced in Lesotho, the high hills of Lesotho. But I wouldn't say that they're a major supplier. But when it comes to these basic food crops and grain foods that a lot of people, that basically secures food security, right? Yeah, we can supply them in South Africa, right? Supply them to ourselves and then develop them for us to also make them an export. So in terms of South Africa and a lot of the southern based African countries, I think we're not going to go that hungry, but we're going to feel the prices, right? When we feel the prices, we can start producing these things ourselves, right? So thank you for this opportunity. Bye.